Have you ever asked yourself, what is self mastery? What really does it take to master oneself? Today, we're going to be having some high level overview about self mastery. I will take some time to perhaps look at self mastery in the context of public speaking. And at the end of the day, we're going to be looking at how project management can contribute to these desired outcomes. But let me begin by giving a brief overview of what self mastery can represent. Now, some of the things that often comes up when we begin the conversation around self mastery is emotional intelligence. And we can look at emotional intelligence from several different standpoints. As again, we begin to go deeper into our conversation around self mastery, the whole concept of the ability to shape one destiny also comes up. The big question I want to be asking, are we investing enough time into shaping our destiny? And when we decide to do so, the big question, what role can public speaking play and what role can project management play in helping you to achieve a desired outcome? Today, to join me in this conversation, I have a team of dynamic personalities that will be joining in the conversation. I have Peter Scott, and Peter, he is a theologist by profession, and he's an entrepreneur. And of course, he will help us to understand self mastery from a theological standpoint, the power of the mouth. We also have Shivani, and Shivani, she is a project management practitioner, but she's also a lecturer at one of the top universities out of the Caribbean. She is a serial entrepreneur, and today she will really help us to understand how to integrate project management into whatever desired outcome that you have in business or in life. We also have Clement Frank. I don't know how much he's going to be able to speak today, but he has graced us with his presence. And he will talk to us also, once time permits, about the role that leadership plays in the ecosystem of self mastery. And Shivani, I want to begin today's conversation by sharing some commonalities that I have seen. We have developed a project that we call the Science of Success. Why? Because we want to help people to take ownership of their lives and really understand what are the artistic and the scientific approach to success. And of recent times, I was looking at multiple different projects, and something stand out to me. It's like, let me give an example. When we talk about it is essential to define success. So let's take, for example, you say that I want to become better at mastering myself. I want to be better at that. That is actually defining to some extent what you want to be good at. It is saying to you what I want to be successful at. So in the science of success, what we say is that it is important to define what you want, first of all. Why? Because when you define what you want to achieve, you can now measure it, you can now monitor it, and you can then control your action towards achieving an end result. Now, surprisingly, what I saw, and correct me if I'm wrong, in your view, that when we look at project management, one of the things that project management speaks about is your completion criteria. And your completion criteria really helps you to, let us say, begin with the end in mind, because you're not starting and then you're figuring out things along the way. In project management, when we say the completion criteria, is really helping you to understand exactly what you want to accomplish. And that for me is like the pinnacle of beginning with the end in mind. Do you see it this way?
Thanks, Gary. And always great again every morning, 7 o'clock. I'm pointing out the time for you to know that, I'm very early, you and Peter, 7 o'clock in the morning. We here,
Yes.
yeah, talking, all making sure I look good for our 7 o'clock talk and preparing.
I, li- I like your watch.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you. Now, when you're speaking about project management, now, um, I think project management really helped me to think this way, right? It's like a story for life as well. Peter's always talk about his stories and the importance of stories. So I have my story, and my story is understanding anything that I want to do, you have an outcome. What do you want to achieve? And in project management, we speak about the ITTO: inputs, tools, and techniques, and outputs. Do you understand what you need to achieve? When you do not, do you understand? Do you know what you want to achieve? And then you work and put in everything to achieve that. That is what project management puts. But I want to take it into a little different approach as well, as we were saying yesterday too. Project management matters, but it starts with really understanding the why of something. Why are we doing it? You know, you spoke about the science of success, and we all have goals. Everybody have a goal, as you know, Peter. You speak about all your goals. Frank will speak about goals. But I want people to really understand. You have to start with the concept of why you are doing something. The why, we call it WHY, of projects. You just can't say, okay, well, I want to open up a bistro because I saw Peter did it. Why are we doing it? So I love to start with that in mind. Why am I doing it? And if I can't answer why, something is wrong. So I have to do more soul searching if it's a personal project, or not even if it's a personal project. You have to look at this within an organizational framework. You cannot, in facilities management, anytime I have analyzed it with my team and projects fail, bet your bottom dollar, as we say, it is because we did not understand clearly the why and something was misaligned. So you may know the outcome or the outputs that you're looking for, but if you don't understand properly the why are you doing it? If it's your passion project or something for yourself, and not only why am I doing it for myself, but why is the organization doing this? A lot of times we have so many challenges. We keep thinking, why did the organization do this? Why? And you keep hearing it. So, this is the question that you have to start with. Project management helps us, yes, of course, but it's before the project too. So, if you hire me as a project manager to XYZ, I want to understand clearly, why am I doing it? That's what I mean. Yeah, Gary, thanks.
Well, thanks for that share, Shivani. Um, Listening to your answer, what it says to me is that very often, coming from different background, different experiences, we may have different terminologies, but then the action towards achieving the goal may be quite similar. All right, that's what I'm seeing. And it's amusing that, we can be going after the same objective
Mm-hmm.
and different terminologies. And sometimes we may even misinterpret each other's terminology, but you're executing in some of the similar ways. I'm going to show you another commonality in a few, but I really love what you say. You asked the why. The why really is the motive for doing what you're doing, and the motive for the why could go many ways. But in terms of what we are discussing today, is one of the outcome of self mastery is your ability to shape one's destiny. The big question here is, why do you want to shape your destiny? And the follow up to that is, why not? Why not? I do believe the ability to invest in self, the ability to nurture oneself to be the best version of yourself, is the highest level of achievement that you can attain. I mean, you can have financial riches, you can have the wealth of a lot of things, But if you don't have the wealth to self determine, that is a massive disadvantaged position that you're in. And Siobhan, just think about this as we come back to you a bit later on. What I've seen is that many persons never spend enough time really focusing on self determination, or if even they invest the time, or even they're at that point of thinking about it, they may have an idea as to what they want to accomplish. But again, they do not have what I call the tools to go after it, the tools to achieve it. And again, here is where I see project management plays a very important role, because project management not only gives you the tools, it gives you a breakdown of things that needs to be done. I'm saying this in the context that very often we see many persons that wants to be better at themselves. They are going about this me, myself, and I. I don't believe that this is common knowledge that is taught in school. They're going about it me, myself, and I. And I do believe that that perhaps is one of the reasons that their growth is being so slowed. And I think having an expert, a project management that can sit them down and say, okay, this is your why. All right. But the way you're going about doing it is not going to give you results anytime soon. You need to deploy these tools to position yourself for success. And I'm going to come back to that, Shivani, to look at some of the tools that I believe can be deployed when one wants to master oneself. I'm going to come back to you, Shivani. Peter, I would love to have your thoughts. You used the word earlier on, the power of words. And I would love to have your perspective on today's conversation.
Yeah, and it's always a pleasure to be here and to, as Shona say, to start the day. Having these kinds of conversation it's always it's all.
Shivani showcasing a watch. Oh
I
my
was doing that. I was just doing so. Yeah.
And,
God.
and
What's the name of your watch, Shivani?
Oh, this one is a Radu.
Arado,
Mhm.
my. Shivani's pulling ranks today,
Yeah.
Peter.
we'll get one too.
Uh,
Yes.
all
Yes.
right, Peter, go
I,
on.
but I liked what Shivani was saying a while ago, though, about the why. And when we speak about mastery, the mastery it can only be achieved upon having purpose. And why is the big question that must be asked if we're going to understand purpose in what we're doing, and especially in our subject matter of the mastery of self. The mastery of self, we have to get deep, because the mastery of self is going to take a certain amount of plan, and to have a master plan in anything that we're doing. The why, we have, once we can lay down the foundation of the why we are doing this, and human growth, you know as we communicate in our field and we get people to understand, growth, the one area of growth that is essential is the growth of the mind, right? The growth of the mind. But a lot of times we cannot really know what is in the mind. How do we know what is in the mind? You will never know what is in the mind until somebody opens their mouth. You really want to understand what is in somebody's mind, get them to communicate, get them to talk. So we do understand that the mouth is connected to the mind. There's a scripture that I love. It says, "Out of the mouth, the abundance of there comes the abundance of the heart." The abundance of the heart. So whatever a person is saying is a reflection of what is in there. mind, what is in their heart, the core, just the heart. It's synonymous with mind. So it's important for us to control our mouth, and I'm going to use the word mouth because it's an M word connected with the word mind, and I like it's memorable. Okay, I want to remember what I'm saying. All right, so we must control our tongue, and then we can go along like, as well in the area of the wise book says that yes, out of the heart, the mouth, the abundance, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speak. And there's another word that we can understand. It says that death and life is in the power of the tongue. So mastery of self mastery, if we when we can master those two things, when we can master our mind by and how do we master our mind is largely about what we it's input and output, right? Input and output. So whatever we're putting in, where does it go? It goes in our mind, education, our our relationship with people, the experiences that we have. It is stored in our mind. Every data that we receive, it goes into our mind, and then eventually when the mind is filled to capacity, just as how you would fill any area, anything at all, after something is completely filled, then it has to seek a way out. And whatever we are filled with, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So when our mind is filled completely, you can't it automatically it's going to come out. It's going to start coming through the words that we use, the communication, how we speak. And so when we can control, so self mastery is about mastering the mind and controlling how whatever is coming from the mind flows through the mouth, through the tongue, through your words, and what you say and how you say it. And if we're going to grow, as even Shivani was talking about project management, then it's a major project. It is a major project to control our input and our output, because whatever we say, somebody is going to judge us by what we say. And it is important for us to be able to communicate, to speak in such a way where we are constantly being promoted and it is taking us to achieve the goals and the aspirations, the project that we're trying to accomplish step by step.
All right. Great share, Peter, and great share. What I want to do, Shavani, start with the why, and I think that asking yourself the why is important. I want to bring us alongside the why, the what, and the what it has to do with what is it that I want to accomplish. In this context, we are looking at self mastery. So, self mastery is what I want to accomplish. So, we clearly define that. The ability to master oneself has a lot of positive outcome. One, you're able to exercise emotional intelligence, and emotional intelligence is not only about you, but is how you're able to leverage your skills, your mental capabilities to connect with people, to work with people, to achieve a desired end results. Self mastery also represents self determination. And this is something that I do believe that every single person under the sky owe it to themselves to reach to that point where they can self determine. That has a lot to do with the what, you know. The third thing that I'm going to look at here is, and I did mention this early on, is the ability to shape one's destiny. Self mastery has a lot to do with this, and that has everything to do with the what. The why I am trusting that the why is going to be, largely along the lines of helping to heal the world, helping to make the world a better place, helping to make organization run better, helping, people to be the best version of yourself. Well, I'm speaking as a humanitarian, and I'm taking some pages out of Peter book that, speak as a theologist. The people may have other why, but I see these are some essential tenets of self mastery. But Shivani, I want to bring it back right back to project management, because sometimes we can sit and we can articulate what is self mastery, and we can articulate emotional intelligence, the ability to self determine and shape one's own destiny. As people, I think that we do this, all the time at some point. But sitting and articulating it and intellectualizing it has to do with the what and the why. But I want us to talk a little bit about the how, the how in the context of project management. But just before I come to the how in the context of project management, I want to show another similarity. We have developed the thesis again that we call in the science of success. The science of success look at all that we have talked about, but when it comes to looking at the how, we say, okay, you set the goal, what you want to accomplish, you understand why you want to accomplish it, but do you know how to accomplish it? Because many persons struggle with the how. All right, they may not be a subject matter expert in the field that they want to attain success, so they struggle with the how. They are not connecting with mentors, they're not connecting with coaches, they're not connecting with the supportive communities, they're not connected with the sponsors, so they really don't understand the how. So what we have done with the science of success, we say that the how is what's going to help you to understand the strategies. So if you want to be successful in any particular way, it could be success with self mastery, it could be success in branding and marketing, it could be success as a public speaker. What strategies? So the how looks at the strategies, the tools, the processes, the systems. Now, if you don't know this, those are some of the reasons why your what and your why is going to be compromised. But Shivani, let me bring this right back to you. The how also has a lot to do with project resources, project resource need. In the project management context, correct me if I'm wrong, you're asking yourself the how is, am I able to attract the right human resources? Am I able to attract the right technical resources? Am I able to attract the right capital resources? Because all of this play on the how am I going to achieve the goal that I want to accomplish? And that's project management. Can you talk to us a little bit about the how and how you see project management in its context as we look at the how to achieve the objective being relevant to the conversation in of itself? And just let me just chime in just a little bit more. Remember, I said very often you want to master who you are, but you are not the expert. You may need to get mentor and coaches and all of this. That's human resources, technical resources. You may need to have capital to work with them. So I think all of the how in the project resource needs plays in, but I would love to hear it from your standpoint, Shabani. All to you.
Thanks again, Gary. So, project management, everything you're speaking about here, I enjoy having this type of conversation because it's so very relevant that you could take it in any environment, as you keep saying.
Yeah.
It's totally true. Now, with projects, you're asking, yes, now once you determine your why do you have to do something? And you agree, you understand the why, right? So we move past that. We understand the why. You have to ask yourself how you're going to do it. How are you going to achieve the objective? You know what you have to do. You know why you are doing it. You understand why properly. how are you going to do this thing? Now, you mentioned about self mastery. Now, I want to draw with the agile project management principles. Just as how we had traditional project management, the waterfall way, we also preach the agile way, and you have to know and really look at what can work in what scenario, as we keep saying, right? Now, with agile, we talk about self organization and self management. This is what you want from people. If I am managing a team and I am practicing the agile way of doing something, I need to talk about self organization and I need to talk about self management. Very, very important. Now, with self, how do you master yourself? You have to be a subject matter expert, as you said, in order for this thing to work, right? Because what agile is saying, that I am not, as the boss, as the person in charge, as they say, telling you what to do and how to do it. How to do it, I should say. You're not telling people how to do it. They understand what they have to do and they will determine how they're going to do it. Why? Because it's a self-organized team. Everybody is at a certain level, as we say, and they understand
Mm-hmm.
why, and they are going to see how they are going to do it. Now, let me throw this. Now, if you're working in an agile way, an agile coach, this is how when we are coaching for an agile team, and people who supposed to do whatever they're supposed to do come and they ask you the question, so what should I do now? Right? If they ask me, so what should I do now? What should I do now? I then am supposed to throw it back with a question to them, right? Now, this is only if you have developed the culture for this, because it might work. If I'm throwing back the question now to you, I'm asking you, well, tell me, how do you think we should achieve this goal? You tell me how you think we should achieve this goal. So you're answering back with a question. Now, you could imagine if people don't understand this, they'll say, but what's wrong with Gary? Why I asked Gary a question and now Gary throwing it back away on me, telling me, well, you tell me how. But this is a coach. It comes back to this principle. In agile way, you're not telling people how to do it, but you have developed. Now, this cannot work, as you said, too, if you don't have the correct tools and people do not understand the correct processes. Because if you do that, then you're spinning top in mud, right? And everybody just
Mm-hmm.
saying, why Gary and Peter now saying, I asked them, how am I going to do this thing? No, not how. So what should I do now? Right? What should I do now? And you now throwing it back on me and saying, but how to achieve it? How would you achieve it? Yeah, what should you do? How would you achieve the goal? You understand? I mean,
Yeah.
not everybody thinks in this way, because traditional project management will teach us, okay, right, Gary, this is what you have to do. I'm giving you the tools, this is how you're going to do it. In other words, I telling you how you're going to do it. I telling you how, as the overall project manager. But agile, which is project management, again, another methodology, is saying, I am not telling you how you're going to do it. We're going to discuss it together and we'll come about with a plan. That is a self organized team. That is a self organized team. That is providing that people understand the tools and the processes and they are masters of themselves in order for me to ask a question. Because I can't go now and ask somebody who don't know what to do. If they don't know what to do, this is how they can tell me how to achieve something. So
Great.
again, the how is very, 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 very important. But as the project manager, you are not telling them how to do it. If people have mastered. Now it is amazing to see how this works with all levels of people. Right? It's not only with persons who are supposedly to be very highly intellectual. Because if you are the master of something, meaning you understand how to do this thing, you would be able to get everybody on the same page. So this can work in building teams, the concept of the how after the why, by throwing out to people, how do you think we can achieve the objective? But that's keeping everybody on the same page. Huh? Self-organize is a very, very important point. So if
Yeah,
some Gary, right, it just
mhm.
reminded me of something. If I do this and you are telling me after, well, why, how you mean, how you mean I should do this thing? You have to tell me how to do it. You are the supervisor, you are the manager. You know what I will say to myself? I have not developed the agile culture for this to happen. Right? So if you don't understand it, it means that it comes back again to me. I have not developed the correct tools, the processes, the culture for this to work.
um, I love your share, Shivani, because again, you find that two different mindsets who have been trained differently are using similar tools, but they are referring to it differently. Like in the context that you have just spoken, you talk about using the agile approach to motivate your team to execute on a particular task. And in using the agile approach, you are not telling them what to do, you're asking them what to do. That in of itself is a strategy. And you're right, that strategy will only work when you are interfacing with subject matter experts. Because subject matter experts, they are expected to know what to do. All right. Once you would have acclimatized them to the outcome that you're looking for, they know because of their expertise, they should be saying, this is how we're going to do it. That reminds me a lot about you. And if you reflect a little bit on, how I would, introduce content to projects, I would always say, and all of you would know this, I'm not here to tell you guys what to do. You're the expert. I'm telling you where we're going. All
Mhm.
right. So that's very much a similar approach to what you're saying. So I really love that because in all that you would have said, it reflects the strategy. You have to know which strategy to deploy based on the human resource that you have. All right. The first thing that I look at was strategy. The strategy is not going to work if you don't have the right human resources. All right. Because there's some human resources, the strategy that you have to use with them, you have to literally tell them what to do, how to do it, when to complete their task because of the skill set that they have. That means that they are not at that stage of, let us say, self mastery. They are not at the stage of self determination.
Mhm.
And if your role is to get them to that point of self mastery and self determination, you have to do some of the things that Shivani would have spoke about earlier. You have to create that environment, that nurturing environment that really helps them to get there. That will take some time. So again, I see some commonality here, Shivani. We're using different names, but the techniques and the tools seems to be very much the same. Because Shivani, one more thing I want to press on here. Once your strategy would have worked, I want to believe that you would now systemize that process because what it is saying to you, this work with this type of people, I don't have to go do something new. I can apply this consistently and I can enhance this over a period of time. So you can actually systemize your processes. Am I correct?
Correct, correct. Very good. So you get research and you can see
Yes.
what will work in what environment. And sometimes when you do that, you're amazed. You're thinking, but wait, I never thought that this will work with this. And then it work. So you
It
get
works.
research.
You have data now to work with
Mhm.
that can give you predictable outcome with the highest degree of accuracy. I love that. Peter, coming to you again as a theologist, I would love to have your share on the whole talk. I know in your journey, we have talked a lot, Peter. We have talked a lot for many years about the role that you want to play in really touching and transforming lives and really get people to come to that point of self mastery. And because it is so important, the human species, they're the greatest asset the world has ever known, the greatest asset the world will ever know. But when we do the analysis, the deep thinking, the deep dive, we see that there's so much more that is left to be desired when it comes to helping the human species to self actualize, to reach their full potential. And I know we have talked about this a lot, but I would love to have your share on the topic, Peter, self mastery, and your thoughts, your takeaway.
Well, Gary, the question that I often ask myself, as human beings, are we really actualizing? Are we really growing? Are we really evolving from better to become a better human being? And we can look at how much we have achieved.
Peter, not cutting you, you're right. And all of those are important questions to ask. And that is, again, is why you see people know the what in
Right?
some cases, but the how, the why, and the how, which we are talking about today, they don't fully understand that. And the science of success really want to bring this to people to really help them to understand. Don't get stuck. You don't have to be stuck in the why and the what. You can, leapfrog in your how. So I
Mhm.
love how you start that conversation. Back to you, Peter.
And because and what we're saying, because we look at that from the backdrop of the world, the reality of the world that we're living in. What are we making of the world? Um, if we should go back, several years before, um, in how we treat even the world around us, right? And it's gonna come back to the mouth, what we're saying about mouth. But I'm looking at upfront from the evolution of the human being, how we have endangered everything else. We have endangered the trees. There's a time when there was there's a big attention given to how we're actually cutting trees, and how we were slaughtering animals and the other life form that we shape, that we share the planet with. And we see all of that trajectory coming to where we are, to where we are now, where we are now an endangerment to ourselves, where over the past few years, it's just thousands of senseless lives are being lost.
Peter, Peter, not cutting you again, but I love what you're saying. I love what you're saying. I mean, we're saying that we're the most civilized people in this age, but it seems as though we have grown so insensitive to the other life forms, which I think has negative effects on climate and the environment, which comes back to bite us. So I
Yeah,
just had to share that because
that,
we
that's
grow so insensitive.
that's the
All
point,
to you.
because
Mm.
even to now tie that in now with what Shivan is saying, because it is a project. Is a project, but we have to expand the project beyond just the boardroom. We have to expand the project just beyond, you know, making success in terms of the financial, what the balance sheet is saying, and then going to go back dealing with the why and the how, as we're discussing right now. So the why is that we have to expand it. Growth, financial growth, must and economic growth equal to the preservation of the ecosystem that we all share. And then now coming back to what you're saying in dealing with the how, so the how of how we're going to do that comes right back to what we're saying now about aligning the mind and the mouth together, because the mind has to be creative. There's no way, there's no reason why, with all the resources that human beings have, there's no reason why we should have such chaos and the advancement of where we have over the years as a species in terms of technology, there's no reason why the world should be in the state that it is. But the how is that we have to master ourselves. We have to learn very fast within a very short space of time, accelerate mastery over ourselves, master how we are going to share or the planet in terms of who gets what and the parameters around how we share our geo or the geography that we do have. And then now it's going to translate the how is going to translate in terms of our mouth, our mouth public speaking, um, how we're going to speak, how we're going to communicate, how do we say what we need to say in order for there to be um, we wish we can each everybody every individual can feel comfortable, if I should say that. But then that is the problem, because look at the wars that is going on, border wars that is happening, and geographic wars that is going on now. What is driving all of that, and what is it that we're going to say? What is it? What can we say to bring an end to it right now? And it can. But the problem is what we're talking about, self mastery, because the heart or the core, the mind of the individuals, it's one thing for us even to say, but then individuals have different things in their heart. The heart of individuals is, well, we have to say it for what it is desperate, the wicked human beings. The heart is so it is playing out, and no matter how we try to go around it, it is what it is. So the topic of self mastery, how do we as a species master ourselves where we do not, where we stop destroying ourselves? And one of us, there has to be the adults. The adults have to stand up in the room and begin to make a project now. We have to design a project of what the next 5 to 10 to 15 years look like, in a way by which we can all coexist and share the piece of real estate that we call Earth, how we can share that together. And largely, it is going to depend on our communication, what comes out of our mouth. How do I say it in a way by which I can bring appeasement? Because all that is happening in the Middle East right now, what is going to stop it? It's words. Somebody has to say something. And if we can find somebody to say the right thing, it stops just like
Great share. I totally agree, because they try words, they say words ain't working, they try the bombs, the bomb ain't working, they come right back to the words. So they didn't have the right words. Um, you're talking about words, you also mentioned the boardroom, and I want to expand on the boardroom a little bit more. But I just want to give some credence to some of what you would have said. I do believe that it is important for us to function in a state of high awareness. All right. I do believe that very often we are functioning, but very often we are not aware of ourselves the way we ought to be. We are not aware of our environment the way that we need to be. We tend not to be sensitive to the things that we should be sensitive to. Perhaps because we are not schooled and educated. Most people are not schooled and educated to understand this. So perhaps that could be one of the reasons. The Science of Success University, we are now looking at these important topics because we believe that it is important to flow in your true essence. And for you to flow in your true essence in today's world is not natural. You have to uh, engineer. You have to, as Shivani's word, you have to be disruptive. And it's so sad that you have to be disruptive to help humanity to become the best version of itself. But let me also come to another scenario, because today we are also looking at public speaking in the context of self mastery. And Peter, you mentioned the boardroom, and I was just smiling to myself when I heard you use the boardroom because today we see a lot of things happen in the boardroom. I don't know if you guys would have ever experienced it. Sometimes it's not the smartest, brightest person in the boardroom that gets listened to. Sometimes it's who are able to deliver themselves articulately in that boardroom that get the ears and the eyeballs, and because they might be extrovert, they might be, have years of practicing their craft of speaking and so forth. Have you guys ever felt this way? You're in a boardroom, you're hearing things that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but
You said good.
they're able to give it a toss across the table, you know. Have you ever felt this way?
Well, we're dealing right now with politics.
You see,
I'm
this is one
thinking,
of the go ahead, Shabani.
I'm thinking about someone, right now who's very good at the talking, but I don't really think the person makes a whole lot of sense. But
Sense. Mm.
some people may think so, but I don't think so at all. So
The
it's a
funny thing,
funny, it's funny.
yeah, it is very funny because believe me, they may be able to convince the others because in recent times I heard a statement, and the statement was a lot of people are not critical thinkers, and I heard it from a vice president, and they're not critical thinkers. So when you project yourself as a critical thinker and an authority at that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the path just seems to follow you, and they maybe follow you down the wrong rabbit hole, and there lies a challenge. So some of the things that we want to look at the Science of Success and the Science of Success University is really equip the right people with the right tools to be able to articulate themselves effectively on stage, in the boardroom, across various sectors. The question I want to ask now is how important is public speaking in your context? I mean, as a theologist, as a leader, as a project management consultant, how important is the ability to leverage words in Peter's context? Speak, vital to influence and as a part of self mastery. Let me put it that way. Who wants to take that first?
They-
So yes. So you give you. I knew you were going to say me, so I jumped in, Peter.
Go
Now,
ahead, Siobhan.
as some of us may say, it depends on the environment, right? Certain environments will promote more writing. How
Yeah.
well you can write and how well the power of the words on the paper, as we say.
Hmm.
Some persons will promote that, and then there will be other environments that will promote that if you can speak. So there is some. I have seen it. Some people can write very, very well, but they cannot communicate it verbally at all. They break down, and you must learn how to do that, right? Because you're gonna have some challenges there if you cannot articulate what you want to say. Because remember now, the entire world is changing. People want to hear quickly. You want to listen to a podcast. You don't want to probably. There would be certain persons who want to read a newsletter. I'm not saying no at all, but there will be a lot more. Data is showing too that there's a lot more people, especially coming up with the different generations, that simply want to hear you, right? You just want to turn on the radio and just listen, turn on the television, or turn on a podcast. I mean, that's how I learn a lot. I learn from podcasts and just listening to persons. So you must be able to speak your craft. You will be able to write your craft, some persons, but you must be able to communicate it. Because as a project manager, too, one of the main reasons projects fail is because we cannot communicate what we want to say.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can. Now, one of the strategies that I have used too, if I can't communicate it or I can't articulate it very properly, because everybody will be different, right? That's one size doesn't fit all. So I may come here and start to speak and I lose somebody, right? So you have to understand your audience. We always say that you have to understand your audience and come down, as we say, look at the content and everything like that. So in my experience in terms of public speaking and getting and being able to articulate, understand who you are doing it for, understand, I mean, ask, be truthful with people and say, yeah, Peter, you understand what I said, what you think about that, right? So it does help you. You have to be able to articulate your point. If you cannot do this, there would be, you would see your outcomes not being achieved, right? So understand that we have to do it. You look at the person that you're communicating to, you know the person that you're communicating to, ensure that the content is not, off. Understand who you are communicating with. So it comes back again that I understand it from the point of empathy. Just as in everything, you have to practice. So you could only get better at this through practice. I also look at it, anytime in a meeting, I might design little training workshops just for me to keep talking. And that's how I have done it over the years. Any opportunity to talk, to speak, to bring some type of content, I'm there because it helps you to practice. Don't think that you're the best thing out, as we say.
Well, you're right, and I want to be a little vulnerable here. I could recall when I was about 14, 15, 16. I have all of these great thoughts going through my head, but I can't articulate it the way that I want to. So I
Mhm,
did exactly what you did, right?
mhm,
And I think that perhaps is one of the reasons why I'm like a prolific writer. I have so many books because I use writing, the ability to write, as my springboard to be able to speak and articulate myself more effectively. And I want to say this because I'm aware that we have millions of people across the world who struggle with exactly what you said, Shivani. There's a lot of truth to what you said. People can write what they want to say, but then to say it, publicly, it's a different mindset, it's a different set of tools that you have to learn to deploy. Again, that's why in the science of success, we have incorporated this element because we know for a fact that many persons may struggle with this. You said something else that is very important, Shivani. You made mention that your ability to speak and your speaking craft is not necessarily about you. It's about you understanding your audience. It's a 95% of you understanding your audience because when you speak, if it's all about me, myself, and I, if it's all about you making yourself look like an intellectual walking encyclopedia, you're going to lose your audience if they are not like you. So it's important to really take the time to understand who you're speaking to. And in our program, what we have done, we have really broke it down. We start to look at things like the science of storytelling, the theory of storytelling, the practice of storytelling. And we went into the very concept that you're talking about, content research and content creation. You don't create a content unless you research it. You don't create, the content unless you understand your ideal client because your presentation is not necessarily about you. It's not about your ego. It's about the information that you are communicating, and it's about you knowing the best way to communicate that information. And the best way to communicate that information is to communicate it in a way that your audience will receive it, is willing to receive it. And you have to know those biodata to be able to do that. And I do believe that in knowing this is what really helps you to be a better communicator. I can share something else with you. As a young person growing up many years ago, I was reading book The Art of Speaking Made Simple. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this also. You get a book that is supposed to fix a problem, but instead of it fixing the problem, it escalates the problem. It's not helping you through the problem. And I have been reading those books because I know that I have to be a public speaker, but I know that I'm not good at it at that time. So I made did all the work, make the investment to better my craft. But guess what? I was listening to a renowned public speaker, Lisa Nichols, and she made a statement, not in the exact way that I'm going to say it, but she said you have to learn how to not tell your story, show your story. But that's tough, right? Because to really conceptualize what she is saying there, don't tell your story, show your story. Because as a speaker, you're using words, all right? And if you don't know how to show your story with words, there lies a challenge. So what we have coined here is that you have to be good with word description. You have to be good with word description as part of your public speaking ecosystem. When you come into the Science of Success University, these are some of the things that we are going to be going into so as to ensure that the average individual who have that desire to master who you are, you really have these tools to your advantage. Hey, Peter, I'm speaking away on this and I forgot you. What are your thoughts? What are the importance of public speaking? I know as a theologist, that's your tool. That's your weapon, to speak. What are your thoughts? How important is that?
Well, the world is shaped by words. The world is shaped by words. When we think about how even the ge- uh, income generation, speakers, there is no other profession. They said that public speaking is one of the highest paid.
Highest paid professions. Yeah.
There is nowhere else any other profession where you can go and make a speech for say an hour, and you can get a year's worth of revenue. So it is highly important for individuals to craft their craft their skill at speaking, because it is. And when you think about the craft of speaking, um, think about what are the spin-offs of the craft of speaking, and who are the highest paid people, not just speakers in terms of a public speaker, but an actor. These individuals are speakers. They have learned how to study a script and say what is on that script to, as you are saying, no show. They're able to evoke emotions by studying a script. So it is highly essential if an individual is going to self-actualize or achieve. It is something that they just have to do. And even to go back to a previous discussion that Shivani um, uh, gave the stages of how someone attained mastery. So what we will say for the interest of those individuals who are listening to this program today, so start as a beginner. No, nothing is achieved, at the drop of a hat. You have to conquer. When you realize that there are some things that has to be done, you just got to do it. So you start as a beginner. Start by practicing, going in the mirror. Start as a mirror, going to the mirror and practice to yourself. Plan what you say, as Tiffany all said a while ago about arranging your thoughts on paper by writing it. You know, we let me just backtrack all what we're saying. First, master your mind, right? Because once you master your mind in terms of mastering your thoughts, because the thought on a particular body of information that you're going to present, you're going to master your thoughts around that body of information. You're going to master your emotions about that body of information. You're going to master your imagination about what you want to say. You're going to master your memory. A lot of times, we have to memorize it. We got to plant that body of speech into our mind so that it becomes a part of our physiology. We're going to master our intellect because we're going to do the research in a drafting up that body of information, in researching that information. And then lastly, you're going to master your will because now you're going to actually force yourself through practice to stand before an audience, and you're going to speak. You got to command. So you will start, what does that look like, and the how that comes out of that is that you're going to start as a beginner. Start as a beginner, where you and the intentionality that goes into it. So you're going to start by taking that body of information that you have and practice as a beginner. Then you're going to go to your you're going to go to your beginner to the intermediate stage, and then by practicing eventually you become very proficient at what you are doing. So everything comes through mastery, through and as using Chevenet's way uh, or profession in project management, treat it as a project. Treat it as a project. Have the stages of what you want and how you're going to actually do it. And by developing through those stages, eventually you will be able to express yourself with words. And it is, let me close in saying that it is very important, it is essential that this be done, because if you do not speak, your ideas will never be, your ideas will not come forward. Your mission, your dreams, your aspiration, you have to open your mouth, and the confidence will come. The confidence will come when you have mastered the various concepts of the mind.
Great points. You must train the self to speak up. And I want to encourage you to reach out to us because we have been there, we have done that. We know some of what you're going through. And we have built out our programs to be able to really help you to leapfrog in self mastery, even in public speakers. Now, what I want to say is that everything can be subjected to project management. So we have just talked about self-mastery. We have looked at self-mastery in the context of public speaking. We have emphasized the importance of public speaking. In the event that you are struggling, because we have professional people who struggle in the boardroom. I have been there, I know that. And we have developed programs that can really help you. The beauty about the programs also, there will be a project management expert, Shivani, that will also be helping you to download your vision into the project management table of content. And she will definitely be working to give you the mentorship, the coaching, and that support. So, project management, I want to say, it really helps you to begin with the end in mind. All right. I really, really know so because of how project management it is designed. It helps you to see clearly what you want to accomplish. It helps you to identify the tools to accomplish them. And tools could mean a number of different things, but it really helps you to see those tools. It helps you to align the tools to your work breakdown structure. And it gives you the other technical support to be able to monitor, to be able to evaluate, to be able to control the processes towards your objective. All right. Project management really does all of this for you. So when you come to the science of success, you're going to be hearing more about this initiative. Very soon, we will be talking to you so much more about this. I want to thank my audience. I didn't thank them before, but I'm going to come to Shivani to close off just now. And Peter, I want to thank the audience. Today, we are reaching over 50 countries. And we have over close to 40,000 persons who have subscribed to this platform over the last 2 to 3 months. I want to thank you for extending that support to us. I also want to encourage those who are looking at the program who might not have subscribed to the program as yet to press that subscription button. It's going to help the algorithm. And of course, it's going to help you because once you find the information useful, when you press that subscription button, it's free. You will be the first to get these content that we bring into you on a regular basis. So, with that being said, I want to come to Peter. Peter, can I get your closing thoughts first, and then I'm going to come around to Shivani?
Yeah, it's something that you said earlier about what's happening in the boardroom sometimes, and how, especially in the area of public speaking, as we're dealing with that matter, and how there's a difference between eloquence in somebody is able to master words. They're just able to make even foolish words sound classy. You know, person very good. They're just suave. They have all the right. Um,
They got a swag with no data.
yeah,
They got emotional swags.
yeah,
Swagger. You use a Jamaican term there, boy.
yeah. They know how
Okay.
to trigger people's emotions. Uh,
Mhm.
but then again, there are those individuals who have the wisdom of the content, who have done the research, who have done the analysis, and they know what works. And we have seen this, and this is why the world is what it is right now. Even if I should story of I worked with Colgate Palmolive several years ago, and we have the wisdom of those gentlemen who have been in the company from the very genesis of the company. They understand how it works. They understand the processes and how things work. And then they introduced a general manager, came in several sometimes later, and his focus was profitability and why the company can make. And so what they used to do was to shut down the manufacturing plant for 2 weeks and service the entire machinery, service everything. Is everybody 2 weeks, 2 weeks, everybody go home and they service the machinery. This gentleman come with his suave words, and he was able to convince them that no, you're wasting 2 weeks of productivity. How much more money would have been made if the company was not closed for 2 weeks. And he was able to use words and convince them and show them on the balance sheet and convince them why they need to change that model because the company will make more money. Well, yes, they stopped shutting down the company every for 2 weeks per year, and the machines just kept running.
Maintenance.
Run. After
Maintenance
a while,
problem.
machines start breaking down, and it becomes
And
very
the downtime was longer than 4 weeks.
yes, and then
So they have lost more money.
it is and that can be used, that term that can be seen, and these are the things. But what I'm saying is the words are important, because if somebody else had the ability to communicate and show and justify why this is necessary, it could have gone another way. So what I'm saying is, we can't even blame those persons who are suave, who are eloquent, who are able, to manipulate. We can't even blame those individuals. It is persons who understand, the substance. Those individuals need to speak up. So we have to place the responsibility. I'm not even gonna call it blame. We got to place the responsibility for those persons who have substance. We're saying to you, if you're listening this morning, speak up. Speak up. We need more individuals who will be bold and to say and to become leaders, because leaders, are speakers. Self mastery is what we're talking about, for individuals to master themselves and to understand if we can't leave the world into the hands of persons who are just suave with words.
Okay, people who are savvy with their swagger. Put their words together, right? Shabani, I would love to get your closing thoughts on today's topic. All to you. You mute, Shabani.
Thanks, Gary. So,
Welcome.
project management, as we sit here, I hope that I don't think I had to convince you and Peter too much, but project management can really, really help you in everything that you do. The tools, the processes, we have so many different tools, every different processes that you could just take templates and implement. Whether you use it the traditional way of doing projects, whether you're doing the agile way. And the conversation on self mastery, it ties in so well with understanding and developing an agile culture to practice and to make people, more confident. And you have to have certain things in place before you can practice these things. So self mastery, and I personally believe that this is my belief, right? My take on it, that anyone can learn these things. You can learn it. Surround yourselves with people who can teach you. And also, my hope is that all supervisors, all managers, all persons who are leading people, leading projects, you start to develop this way, because it's about empowering people and it's about changing how people see themselves. Because think about it, if you're a dictator, that is how people going to see themselves. They are not going to be able to think outside of that space, because that is a space that you have created for them. So we are to blame. We are to be blamed as well if you are supervising and you are in that position, because you can't have people leave the project or leave the organization and have not a clue about mastering themselves and determination and confidence and all these great terms. Thanks again, Gary.
Yeah. My last thought on this topic of self mastery, I do believe that when are a leader and you're thinking how to scale your vision globally, you quickly begin to recognize that it is not a task that you can do on your own. You need independent thinkers. You need people who want to self actualize alongside you to help you to attain that global vision. So, the topic in of itself today, self mastery, is relevant to every organization that wants to grow and scale and make global impact. Now, we discuss these topics because we see that there is a challenge, and where we see that there is a challenge, we build thesis. Most of our talking points are presented from thesis. Some of the theses are already being tested in the market, and those programs is what we want to introduce to you to help to move your organization to another level of development. Now, with that being said, I want to thank Peter Shabani for being here. As you know, if you're joining us now and you never saw Peter, you never hear from Peter. Peter is a theologist by profession. He is also an entrepreneur, and he's the brain behind Legacy Chronicle Human Growth Program. So he's the kind of person that will often say to you, do you have your master plan for life? You may have your master plan for your business, but do you have your master plan for life? What legacy do you want to leave that will live long after you? And he's the kind of person that can help you along those lines. We also have Shivani Sinarayan, and Shivani Sinarayan, she's a project management practitioner. And I want to emphasize this. She's not just a project management practitioner. She's a lecturer at one of the top universities in the Caribbean. She's a serial entrepreneur, but I know that her passion is really with project management. And I'm happy to say this, that project management represents every aspect of your life. If you're going to bake a bread, if you don't understand the right processes to get it done, you're going to get it wrong. Project management is going to help you with that. If you want to start and scale a business and take it global and you don't understand the process, guess what? Project management is going to give you the tools to make it happen. So, if you, as a manager, as a leader, if you don't have a project management professional practitioner on your side, you're doing yourself harm. My word of advice is ensure that you build the right relationship with project managers, not just any project managers, the right project managers that can really help you to understand how to navigate, how to leverage the tools to optimize your business processes. So, with that being said, I want to say have a great Friday and a great week ahead of you. Shivani, Peter, great working with you guys. See you guys tomorrow and see you on Monday. All right, do enjoy the rest of the day and the week ahead of you. To the audience, do have a wonderful, wonderful rest of day and weekend